Good morning, class. Today we are going to read The Reasons for the Seasons. Now I'm going to break this book up into a couple parts, and you'll see why, because we're going to learn about each season. And I know you guys already have some prior knowledge of the seasons. So let's begin by reading The Reasons for the Seasons by Gail Gibbons. The sun warms the surface of Earth, the planet we live on. The tilt of the Earth in relation to the sun changes throughout the year. This is what makes the seasons. Each season lasts about 3 months. 4 seasons make a year. That's how long it takes for Earth to revolve or make one trip around the sun. As Earth circles the sun, different parts of the Earth are closer to the sun than others. This affects the amount of light and heat they receive. All right, class, I'd like you to take a moment and tell your parent, how long does it take for the Earth to revolve around the sun? All right, let's look at this picture and let's remember a few things. I want you to stand up while you look at the picture and remember a few things we learned in class before we left from school. Our axis is an imaginary line that will point all the way through the Earth. So, axis, put your arms straight up, stand straight up with your arms above you. That would be your axis. Now, for the Earth, where is our equator? Let's see if you guys remember. Our equator is right around our waist and our belly button. If we were the Earth, our equator would be like a belt around our belly button. And so those are our two terms. Where is the North Pole? That should be at the top of your head. So touch your head and say North Pole. Where is the South Pole? Stomp your feet and say South Pole. Now we've got some words that we've remembered from our last lesson. All right. So the Earth is slightly tipped as it turns on its axis. Tipped means tilted. It makes one full rotation on its axis every 24 hours as it moves along the path around the sun. When the North Pole is tipped toward the sun and the South Pole is tipped away, it is summer in the northern hemisphere and winter in the southern hemisphere. 6 months later, when the Earth has traveled to the sun, I skipped a sentence, sorry. 6 months later, when the Earth has traveled to the other side of the sun and the North Pole is tipped away, it is winter in the northern hemisphere and summer in the southern hemisphere. The seasons of one hemisphere are always the opposite of those in the other hemisphere. I want you to stand up and I want you to rotate, which means turn around in a circle one time. If you were the Earth, how much time has passed if you turn around in the circle one time? That's right, 24 hours is one rotation of the Earth. So if you notice a few things on this picture, we went over the equator. The southern hemisphere would be below your belly button if you were the Earth. The northern hemisphere would be above your belly button if you were the Earth. All right, let's continue reading. Spring. Spring equinox is also called the vernal equinox. In the northern hemisphere, spring begins about March 21st. This is the season when more sunshine causes cooler air to be replaced by warmer air. In the southern hemisphere, autumn is beginning. So, we must be in what hemisphere, southern or northern? That's right. We're in the northern hemisphere because it's already past March 21st and it's spring. The first day of spring is called the spring equinox. When spring brings in the northern hemisphere, Earth has moved along its path, so the sun is directly opposite of the equator. On this day, daylight and darkness are the same length of time over the entire Earth. In ancient times, some people celebrated this day because it was the beginning of the growing season. Spring is the season when some birds that have been away for the winter return again. This is called migration. Some whales migrate too. Some animals have slept all winter and wake up and look for food. Spring winds are good for kite flying. It is the season when everything seems to come alive again. Trees grow new leaves and flowers bloom. Some crops are planted. Tell your parents what you have learned about spring. All right, let's take a break right here before we go the next season. And we're going to come right back in just a minute. All right, so we're going to go to a different app right now. What have we learned about spring? So you're going to fold your paper into 4, and we are going to write down all the facts we've learned about spring today. So I'm going to let you do that today, and tomorrow we'll come back and we'll do a different season. So fold your paper into 4 and label it just like I have it here. So you may need to pause the video. And then we're going to talk about spring tomorrow, review, and we'll move on to the next season, which is, that's right, summer. So work on your foldable right now. And I'll see you tomorrow.